All right, we're doing it.
So we got to fight. I threw him out of the house.
He said he shot himself, and I was in complete disbelief.
Find something that'll make you smile and laugh every day.
Seeing the mother and father holding the baby.
Enter as strangers.
Welcome to Enter as Strangers podcast number 23. 23. Today we finally have a guest on after not having a guest for a while. We actually started this podcast once.
About a half hour ago.
Had some technical difficulties, and so we're starting it again. Today's guest is our sister, Jennifer Cummings.
Jen, remember?
Oh, yeah.
You did.
I said Jennifer. Jen, not Jenny or Jennifer, because she's not a teenager and she's not 80. So
Mom's going to love that.
So it's Jen. What does she call you?
She calls me Jenny because that's my name.
No, it's not.
It's not. Do I look like a Jenny to you?
Well,
That's
I
what
always
I
remember
always-
calling you Jenny through your teenage
The
years.
reason I call you Jenny is because that's what Mom calls you.
Yeah. Jenny. There's Jenny with an I and Jenny with a Y.
Well, because wasn't
Jen.
one... Yeah.
I've known another Jennifer that doesn't like to be called Jenny at all either. Ashley's mom.
Yeah.
You've known too many Jenny and Jennifers and Jens in your life.
It's a real problem.
It
It is a real problem.
So Eric and I talked about having you on before, and we weren't sure about the subject matter at the time, but then your husband, Brody, who was our first guest, actually suggested that we have you on to talk about Ari. And Ari is our niece, your daughter, your 16-year-old daughter, and she was born, and like I said, we already recorded this once, so we hopefully we won't rush through this, but because I was enthralled in the story. But she was born with a congenital heart defect, correct?
Yes.
And at the time she was born, you guys lived in California.
Arizona. Mesa.
Jeez. Yeah, Mesa, Arizona, because that's where your husband had moved for work.
Correct.
And so you were telling us the first time around that at how many weeks you actually started growing. So there was a teeny little bit of concern about
36
her as a baby.
weeks,
Because
yeah.
at 36, they took measurements, and she wasn't getting big. You weren't getting bigger, which meant she wasn't getting bigger.
Right.
Okay. So kind of walk us through that again. So there was that issue, but they gave you the all clear go ahead. There was nothing wrong.
Right. So they did an in utero ultrasound of her heart, and everything was good. So they did not think there was anything concerning.
I'm just blown away that they couldn't see something was
Yeah.
wrong.
I mean, that part I remember vividly of her. She literally stood there. There's this chamber, this chamber, this chamber, this chamber. Everything looks great. Look, she has some hair. I mean, I remember the conversation.
Wow.
So.
But
yeah.
everything was good.
They said everything was good. Went back to the doctor. Still wasn't growing. Doctor said, it's baby day. And
How many weeks was it at that point?
I was 37 weeks, 37 and a half
And
when
how
she
many
was born.
weeks is it when you take a baby?
Technically, it's 40, but 39.
So
yeah.
they said, we're taking the baby now.
Uh-huh.
And this was a couple of days after the ultrasound.
Couple days after. That day, I think she had some dips in her heart rate, if I remember correctly. So they took me C-section.
When the doctor said we're going to do a C-section, which wasn't your plan, were you scared?
No.
Were you worried?
No.
Why
I was
not?
oblivious because I was 20. How old was I? 25?
I don't know.
Maybe. And I was having my first baby. I did fertility. I wanted a baby. I was just there to have. I didn't care.
Oh,
how
that's
she
right. So
came.
you did fertility, drugs, and so you were like, yeah, take her.
Yeah.
So you were just young and naive and didn't
Yes.
realize you weren't scared.
Does the doctor not portray that there might be something
didn't.
bigger
No.
going on?
No. Not one little bit.
So why
had
would you
no
have
clue.
reason to be nervous
Right.
then?
Okay.
At that point.
Yeah.
So you go in to have the baby. They do a C-section,
Yep.
cut you open, take the baby.
Take the baby.
Now do you know something's wrong?
Nope. So they take they put the baby up. Oh, look, your cute little baby. Ugliest thing I've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
And, they take her behind you and do her vitals and her,
Right.
all that.
Smack her.
Yeah.
Real quick, who's in the room with you?
Mom and Tom
That's it.
and all the doctors and nurses.
Right. But
yeah.
as far as family, that was it.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
So they're checking her vitals, smacking her butt.
So she was a little blue and her oxygen was a little low. So they took her to the NICU. And the next time I saw her, I was It was on my way to recovery. They wheeled me through the NICU.
But you don't have any idea anything's wrong?
Not yet.
maybe her
They didn't.
oxygen's
Yeah,
low?
they had no idea at this time what was going on. So I'm in my room. A couple hours later, the nurse drugs me because I'm about to get bad news. They don't want me to panic, because after a C-section, you can't even get out of bed. So I'm stuck in bed.
Right.
Doctors come in 3 or 4 deep and explain that she has what's called tetralogy of Fallot. And they had to draw a diagram for me
Diagram of what?
of a heart, of a normal heart versus her heart.
Okay.
And what
how
was the
hers-
difference?
So she was born without a pulmonary artery. She had a hole in the bottom of her heart. Her heart was flipped, and the arteries the valves she has in her heart were very narrow.
And they don't know what causes this?
They do not know what causes this. They do genetic testing.
Why?
Most babies who have this also have Down syndrome.
Whoa.
So
That would be.
they tested her chromosomes.
But so they're doing all this testing, and now you know.
Right, now
so
I know.
Now how are you feeling?
Now I'm feeling a little panicked. The words she could, they don't say, well, this is life-threatening.
Right.
So, again, I'm young and stupid. I really don't know what the hell's going on. I know she's got some heart problems. I know she's in the NICU and she's on oxygen.
How common is this disease, if you'll call it
It's
that, I guess?
actually, I personally have never met anyone else with it, but if you look
But
up
they
the
didn't give
statistics,
you an idea?
it's actually it's like 1 in every, I think, 30,000 births or something like that.
Holy
Which is,
cow.
for the amount of people.
Yeah, no, that
it's
seems-
very.
I think way more people are born with a congenital heart defect than
right.
you realize.
But if you look at the Down syndrome babies or children, 90% chance they have it.
Right.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, okay. So they're doing tests.
Uh-huh.
And what? They patch you up and you go home? I mean, how many days is she in there?
She's in there. She's in the NICU at the hospital for, I think, a week.
Did you stay the whole time?
I stayed. They extended my stay. I stayed for 5 or 6 days. And then they released me when she was transported to Phoenix Children's.
Okay, so they moved her
Mm-hmm.
from the Mesa Hospital to the Children's Hospital in Phoenix.
Correct.
A week later.
A week later.
Then what happened?
5 days, something like that.
Are you freaking out yet?
I don't remember. Probably. Yes.
Obviously, if you don't remember, you were probably freaking out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember a whole lot. Mom was with me the whole time. So, yeah, we went to Phoenix Children's where they were going to do a heart cath on her, just kind of really see what's, how her heart's functioning,
Right.
the way her blood is flowing.
And that's the dye injection.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, and to kind of really get a good grasp of
What's
where her good
moving.
oxygen and bad oxygen are going. And so didn't really care for the doctors at that hospital.
So they just started running a bunch of tests.
Yeah, more like procedures.
Okay.
Okay.
To really identify the problem.
Correct. And she was there, I want to say a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't really remember her length of stay, but they put her back in the NICU when she got there because she still hadn't been in the outside world.
Right.
Now, were you, obviously you guys' home was in Mesa, but you were there. Were you staying at the hospital?
No, we were going back and forth every day. I think it was only like a 30 or 40-minute drive.
Right. But still.
Yeah.
Was it tough? Leaving her there? Or do you
Yeah,
remember?
that sucked. I do remember that. I remember leaving the hospital the first time just sobbing. Now, mind you, I think I got to hold her for a total of 10 minutes in all this time.
Wow.
So I have this new baby. I held her for a few minutes, but once she got to Phoenix Children's, I couldn't touch her. So
Jeez.
weeks I went without holding my baby.
Well, and that connection, how they say you should hold your baby close at birth, and that connection and so on.
And that's a
don't get
real
any of
thing
that.
because
Yeah.
Ari and I struggled with a a bond for a really long time, and I firmly believe that's where it came from.
I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays they tell fathers to do that with their shirt off and stuff because the actual
Skin on
bacteria.
skin. Yeah.
You want your bacteria on your child,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
So how you might have just said, but how many weeks were you at the Phoenix Children's Hospital?
I'm gonna say a week to 2 weeks. I don't remember.
Okay, and then what? They sent you home. They said you
Then
could go
they
home.
cleared her.
But okay, when they
Why-
cleared her,
yeah,
like they
what'd they
cleared
find out?
her,
They didn't
and they
find
were
anything
like, she's gonna need surgery. Is
Right,
what they
she's
told
gonna
you.
need
but you
surgery.
can take her home.
But we can take her home.
Okay.
With oxygen?
I'm trying to think if they did anything. They did not do a surgery there. We did not take her home on oxygen, but you got to remember the
Sea level.
The sea level is different.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
easier to breathe. I mean, they were lower. I remember they were like probably mid 80s, which is not great, but you can live on that.
Okay.
Okay, so I was pitching a fit. I wanted to move back home to Utah, where we had family members.
Was Tom resistant to that?
No, actually, he wasn't.
So wait, did you just come? Did you like pack up and move, or did you just come here with the baby?
No, we packed up and moved. Like, we packed the house. I don't know who drove our stuff back here. I don't remember, but we trolled up to Utah with the baby in the car.
And then you went into
We went into Dr. Allred
right.
for a checkup 2 days after we got here.
And tell us what happened there at his office.
They checked her oxygen level, and he thought the machine was broken, sent the nurse out for another one. 3 machines later, her oxygen level was 50, like ranging from like 49 to 52 is where it was. And they sent us straight over to Primary Children's.
And so the doctors in Phoenix gave you the all clear to rise thousands of feet in elevation.
Yes.
And had no real concerns, or did they express any concern?
No, they literally, I remember that part. They had no concerns, because even I
What?
was like,
And that
but
just
we're going
yeah.
higher. Like, it didn't make sense to me, but they checked her. No, she's good to go. Just make sure she sees a doctor when she gets there.
Holy crap.
So when you went and saw Dr. Allred, you told him obviously what was going on,
Right.
and he hooks him up to the machines, and then 3 machines later, like you said, what did he do then?
He sent us to Primary Children. I mean, he was floored.
Right.
Like, floored. And when I got to Primary Children's, the on-call, because by this time it was like 7 o'clock at night.
Did he say load up and go now?
Yes. Load up and go straight there.
Go take her.
So we got there.
They didn't move her by ambulance?
They did not. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope, they let us take her because he was, I mean, Dr. Allred was in downtown Salt Lake,
Right.
so it's up the road, really. So when I got there, we saw the on-call cardiologist, and she was appalled that, because by this point it's been 3 days that she's been living with the oxygen levels like this. And they admitted her immediately into the pediatric ICU.
At this point, I mean, did anyone ever express concern over possible brain damage or anything with that low of oxygen for days at a time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of scary sounding.
Yeah. That was pretty awful.
So now she's admitted to the Primary Children's Hospital.
She's in ICU. We meet her actual cardiologist for the first time. She has I think they did another heart cath, a few more procedures. I know they did a surgery right then and there.
They did?
I think that's when they did the unifocalization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they did it.
Which is what?
Which is where they take all the little collaterals and build her a temporary artery.
Okay.
Okay,
So she can
and they
get
closed her hole in the
More blood flow
Correct.
and get more oxygen.
right, more good blood flow.
And she's how old at this point?
3 or 4 weeks.
So
Little
did they
baby.
talk to you at all that you can recall about the risk factors and like did they give you any statistics on like survival rate of a 3-year-old infant having open heart surgery?
Not on actual having surgery, but they did on the
defect?
the defect itself. And at that time, the oldest living documented person with it was 34.
Right.
Wow.
See,
Yeah.
because just as a side note, I had a friend whose niece had a congenital heart defect similar to Ari's, and she died at 12,
Yeah,
11 or 12.
yeah. Very real possibility.
Yeah, which from what he had told me that was a pretty common thing, that inevitably it would get the person, the child.
Yep.
So they do a quick surgery to accumulate those different blood vessels and stuff like that, and make basically an artery
Right.
out of it. But it's just a temporary solution.
This is a temporary solution. I think the surgery was 3 hours, on a 6-pound baby.
Yeah.
Because she weighed nothing.
That's
She
trauma.
weighed 6 pounds when she was born, but she dropped to 5 something. So by the time they did the surgery, she was in between 5.5 and 6 pounds, I'll say.
So you obviously see her after the surgery, like through glass.
We see her. Nope. So she comes out of surgery. They put her back in ICU. Of course, they call us and say, okay, she's back in recovery, So we go back to her little ICU bed. And I will never forget the image of my 4 or 5 week old laying there in a diaper. And there are tubes and wires everywhere. And
Were they feeding her by tube?
Uh-huh. And she's still on a ventilator. So she's got a breathing tube in.
Got a big ass scar on her chest.
And she's got a big scar.
Holy cow.
Well, when you got a ventilator, you can't talk, you can't cry.
Yeah.
Well, she's a baby, so she's going to cry.
Yeah.
And she's crying and nothing's coming out.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you can see her tears, you can see her crying, but because that ventilator, I don't know, she was like doing this flailing,
Yeah.
and I couldn't hold her. Because
Right.
she had too much hook to her.
That sucks.
That was probably the worst moment ever.
I mean, do the nurses have to calm you down?
Oh yeah, I was a disaster. The nurses were amazing.
Yeah.
I was a wreck. And I think it was 2 or 3 days later that I actually, for the very first time, that's not true because when she came home I held her, but through all that surgery, being in the hospital,
Right.
that was the first time I actually got to hold her.
Jeez.
And then we stayed there for, I want to say it was a good 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
After that first surgery. So at the time, were you like, did you kind of have, because another surgery's coming,
Right.
Were you like, I can't do this? Or were you like,
Oh, did they give you an idea how long this temporary fix was temporary for?
Yeah.
Yeah, year, 2.
Maybe.
so
Maybe.
Okay. So that probably felt like, after just going through that, like, okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't really think about the future surgeries because when you've got a kid with those kinds of problems, we saw a nutritionist, we saw a gastroenterologist, whatever he is,
This is all after the surgery?
because the bowels are the last thing to get the oxygen. So when your oxygen's not flowing freely, your bowels have problems. So poor kid couldn't poop. So we had that doctor, and then we had the cardiologist, then we had the pediatrician. I mean, I was on the go all the time. I bet you were at the doctor 3 or 4 days a week for the first 8 months.
So you said that you were there for about 2 weeks, then you could take her home?
They sent her home.
Was she still hooked up to stuff?
She was not. She was not. I believe we brought her home. I don't think we took her home on oxygen at first.
Did she cry a lot and stuff when you got her home?
No, Ari was a really good baby. Really good.
She's just scared of you.
Yeah. No, Ari was a great little baby. And we were in the process of, in all this, selling our house downtown and building our house out in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, so
think-
not only are you dealing
yeah.
with this, you're trying to build a home.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
think
lot.
maybe the house came later. I don't remember.
I think
Sheesh.
that timeline lines up,
Yeah,
I
but
think.
it was
Okay,
a lot.
so you got your baby home, you're seeing all these doctors and stuff, and she's plugging away,
Plugging away.
right? And her growth curve must have been slow,
She,
below average.
Yes, she's still to this day at 16 years old not on the charts for a normal growth pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, she follows she follows a curve, but they call it the Ari curve because she just follows her own
Just
curve.
checking. I think in the earlier recording of this, you had said by the time she was 1 year old, she was 8 pounds.
8 pounds, 2 ounces.
And
I
she
think.
had been born at 6. Wow.
Yeah, so she gained a couple pounds.
She
in
gained a
year.
couple pounds. The nutritionist, we used to put malt in all her food.
Just for some substance.
For some
To try
high
to
calorie.
calorie added.
Yeah. And she was, at 8 months, she was seeing a occupational therapist because she couldn't sit, she couldn't roll, she couldn't do anything.
Right.
So did you have to, did they schedule the next surgery at this time?
No.
Like how long before you had the next surgery on
So on one of her checkups, I think her oxygen obviously was dropping because they put her on oxygen, where they have it delivered to your house. You have a travel tank, you have cords that are 800 feet long to travel through the house with it. And they kept her on that for quite a while. And she was on like 1.5 liters, I think it was.
Is this per day?
Yeah, so it's just constantly running. But that's how much oxygen's being pushed out to help her. And then at one of her appointments, her oxygen, wasn't where it was. And we had to, I think, move it up to 2 liters is what it was. And at that point, Dr. Day said, all right, it's time.
And how long after the initial surgery was this?
This was right before her first birthday, so almost a year.
So the temporary 1 to 2 year fix was about a year.
Yeah.
And they always knew that it would just be the kind of thing where they go, okay, it's time.
Yes.
Because that thing's all about heart growth and stuff like that.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And
getting her stronger as, from an infant to...
So what was the second surgery?
The second surgery was...
Where was it? Okay, so it was supposed to be at Primary Children's.
It was supposed to be at Primary Children's.
And what happened?
I am missing one. I know I am. I'm sorry. So this surgery, the doctor said it's time. I don't think she can wait anymore. So they scheduled a surgery. And Dr. Hawkins was her surgeon.
Up at Primaries.
So they scheduled it, but we got a call the day before. There was a nurse shortage, and so they had to cancel it. So they rescheduled it again, and then they canceled it again. Meantime, we have to pretty much, keep her away from everybody.
Like, how frustrating are you at this point?
Oh, I was
for me, I'd be up a wall. Like, how do you just cancel a life-saving surgery?
Right, right. I was livid.
Check back in a week.
So
I'll let you know.
I went back to my cardiologist and I said, do something. Like, what do we do, And he said, oh no, she can't wait. This is not okay. And so he put a phone call into Dr. Hanley, who pioneered the surgery that she was about to have. And he said, yep, send her down.
And where's he at?
Palo Alto at Lucille Packard's Children's Hospital in California.
Wow.
We were on a plane 2 days later.
So were you grateful to have this guy doing the surgery? Or there had to be a party that was like, I don't want to put her on a plane and fly her.
I didn't want to put her on a plane. That was a hassle because we had 2 days to find a plane that would allow oxygen on the plane. Because they don't do that.
Yeah.
So we had to go through Delta. We had to have a special boarding pass because we had to be on first so they could hook her tube up to the oxygen tank that they already had. Then we had to arrange an oxygen company to meet us at the terminal gate to hook her back up on oxygen when we got off the airplane.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So off the plane, straight to the hospital?
Off the plane, not straight to the hospital. We got off the plane. We were in San Francisco, so, we went to the wharf. We got some ice cream. Mom was with us.
You're just carting her around?
Yeah, because she's on oxygen, and we had a scheduled appointment.
Right.
Okay, so we know she's okay. So we take her, and I still have the cute little pictures of chocolate all over her face from Mom giving her ice cream. And then we go and we check in, because we were staying at the Ronald McDonald House. But it was under construction and there wasn't a room available for a few days. So we checked into some 5-star fancy at half the price because we were with the Ronald McDonald Foundation.
Nice.
Right? So we're living it up at the hotel. We go meet the cardiologist, have a doctor's appointment. Then the next day is I think they did an MRI or a CAT scan, one of those things. Or it was scheduled. And we go back and they've got her on this bed, like a clinic bed. Mm-hmm. And Tom said something mean to Mom, so of course Mom, and so Mom bites back, and then I get involved, so we're all in there just fighting. And for the first time ever, Ari decides, hey, I'm gonna roll over right off to the table and onto the tile floor.
What? Oh my god!
Poor
my God.
kid.
The screams that came out of the room. We had a team in there in, seconds. And
You
they
guys
took,
must have felt like jackasses.
oh, it was awful. It was awful.
Oh my gosh!
And they took her for a CAT scan. They postponed her surgery
'Cause
because
of
they
the
had
fall.
to make sure she didn't have a concussion. It was,
Oh my god.
it was just a train wreck.
Listen, so for anyone listening, if you know Tom and our mom and Jenny, you would roll yourself off the bed too
Yeah.
during that
In
argument.
a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Whatever. If it was a window, the window was open, she probably went out the window. Okay, so they postponed the surgery
They postponed
because
the
of the
surgery.
fall.
I think we waited another week.
Oh my gosh.
And in this time, Tom came back to Utah to go to work. So Mom stayed with me in California. And we just shopped and
Just hung
played
out.
and sat by the pool. But yeah,
Guess make the best of it.
So what was his surgery? What did the surgery entail? Like the last one was this collection of veins
This
to form
one
an arm.
was,
Were they putting in any kind of stents or anything like that?
I wish I could really remember what it was called. I don't. This one was like the big fix. So they took those collaterals and actually made a bigger valve.
Okay.
I wish I could remember.
So
what
it
the
wasn't
thing
like
was
a outsourced implant of any kind.
No,
It
not
was.
right. Not at this point. That's not Gore-Tex. They used Gore-Tex.
Oh.
Yes.
Really?
That's what it was. They used Gore-Tex, which is a indestructible.
Yeah, fiber cloth.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
some at home, right? They gave me some,
Yeah.
right? And so they put the Gore-Tex in and blow it up with a stent or something to help that oxygen really flow.
Is this a surgery that's supposed to last a while?
This surgery is supposed to last, I think it was like 5 or 6 years, depending on the
Until she
growth of the kid.
Right, till she outgrows it.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you go, they do the surgery.
She comes out of
Do you
surgery.
remember how many hours the surgery was?
It was 9 or 10.
Wow.
Because I know you don't really remember it, but knowing our mom, she must have been a wreck.
Mom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She was actually really good because she was really trying to stay calm and collected
not
for
a wreck
me.
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So she comes out of surgery.
She comes out of surgery 9 hours later.
9 hours.
9 hours.
Holy
about
shit.
9 hours. Which was the day before her first birthday.
The day before.
She turned 1 in the ICU.
And doctors come out, tell you everything went okay.
Everything looks great. She's doing great. Take us back to see her. Again, she's hooked up to 1 million tubes. The only thing she has on is a diaper. Only this time she has drains coming out. So she's got 3 or 4 drains of blood and just pumps and machines of medicine everywhere. And there they actually had a cardiac ICU for babies. So all the kids in there, that was a rough one.
Right. So how long was she in the recovery for?
I think she was only there for 3 or 4 days. Not very long, actually.
And then you guys flew back home?
And then we stayed around for another checkup. We were in California, I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks total.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Mommy and Peyton. No, Mom was already home. So me and Ari. Sorry, I don't get confused.
Peyton.
I
I was going
don't,
to say,
I was like,
where you
what?
going?
I don't know where I got that.
You had another kid sometime in there?
Me and Ari flew home. Tom dropped us off at the airport and he drove home. Mom picked us up from the airport.
Wait,
When
how did
Mom
mom
get
get
home?
back?
She flew home a couple days. Because Dad came out to visit.
And so Tom drove
she flew
back.
home with Dad. And then Tom drove back because we had to have a car out there. So he drove. Mm-hmm. And then Ari and I flew home and Mom picked us up. And as we're driving down our street, the street's lined with yellow ribbons. And
For her?
it was awesome. Mm-hmm.
In your neighborhood out in Saratoga Springs?
No, this is when we still live downtown.
Oh, okay. Okay. So second surgery, you get back home. She's still, her growth is, it sounds like a crappy word, but her growth was stunted because of the heart defect.
Yes.
Right. So she wasn't growing at the rate of a normal child or anything like that.
Right. So we get home and she's not on oxygen anymore. So it fixed that problem.
Right.
Her oxygen levels are good. The doctor's appointments slow down.
And
Life
she's
seems like
playing and shucking and jiving.
We did the occupational therapy. She started walking. I remember when she started walking, she could walk. Same dining room table I have now. She could walk right under it.
Really?
I mean, she was just
tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then that lasted till she was 4.
That surgery?
That's that surgery. Okay, so this is important. So has anyone told you this stage that this is probably going to catch up with her?
What do you mean catch up with
Well,
her?
I mean, like what I had always heard is that a lot of times congenital heart disease, you might get to a preteen teen before, their heart just can't keep up anymore and gets out.
Yeah. We
So,
had that conversation.
You had that conversation, but were you, did anyone ever sit you down and go, there's a very real possibility that she won't live past the age of whatever that you recall?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
Not at that point.
So she is able to go on that surgery for 4 years.
4 years. She was 4. Mm-hmm.
And then come a
So
big
3
surgery.
years because she was 1 when she had it.
Yeah.
Right? Now come a big surgery.
Right.
And that's where
surgery.
This is the surgery that's supposed to be the one that can carry her into adulthood. Right?
About 10 years. Mm-hmm.
10 years. Mm-hmm. And then maybe another surgery would be needed.
Right.
Okay. So where's it done at?
Primary children's.
So different surgeon.
Different surgeon.
Same guy that was going to do it the first time?
Yes. Dr.
Hawkins.
He died of brain cancer or of some sort of cancer, but I think he did her pig valve.
So she got a pig valve.
That surgery was
that weird? When someone's like, we're going to take a pig's heart valve and stick it in your child.
Yeah, like literally the pig's valve is keeping my kid alive.
Right.
And this one is supposed to supposedly somewhat grow with her to last longer.
So they want to get one that's big enough that she can grow and not outgrow it, so she doesn't have to have another surgery so soon, but they can't go too big, right? And so this one was, hey, this should last her 10 years unless it starts to calcify or something, goes wrong. Yeah.
So by this time, are you an old pro at having surgeries?
Yes.
So you're not
hospital's
like...
a second
you've got to be scared every time, right?
Yeah. Well, them taking her away is probably the worst experience.
What do you mean taking her away? Like back to surgery?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Because every time, any kind of surgery has a high level of risk. Mm-hmm. And they're putting her under with anesthesia?
They're putting her under with general anesthesia.
Jeez, dude.
I want to say that is the surgery where she got the scar on her back and the scar on her neck because from all the procedures she had.
Right.
And she was so little.
The scar tissue.
Her scar tissue. Oh. So they were afraid when they cracked her sternum that time around that there wouldn't be enough time to bypass her, to put her on bypass, that she would just code. So they actually made a secondary bypass spot. So they went in through her. No, the one on her back was a separate surgery. See, she's had so many, I'm getting confused. So they made her a bypass spot in her neck, just in case.
How much, even in adulthood, when you're healthy, a surgery just wears you down. How much trauma this child has faced in the first 4 years of its life, or year, really.
Right.
Like,
well, that's got to be part of that occupational therapy and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because, all this stuff is trauma.
Oh, yeah.
It's no different than PTSD. Mm-mm. And so it probably, I would imagine it's going to be something that she, on some level, is going to deal with forever.
Yeah.
Or for a long time.
It
continues
is.
to be.
And even to this day, is a mental struggle.
Sure, of course.
Exactly, right.
So get back to the surgery. They do the surgery. How long was it? Do you remember?
It was another 8-hour surgery.
And they come out and say everything went good?
Everything went good. They did not have to use a secondary bypass. Everything went as planned.
Okay. So And now you're like, okay, we're done for a while.
Right. And I'm sorry, in between there, she had another surgery. I don't remember what it was for, but that's where she got the scar on her back.
So she had then a fourth surgery, but this was the fourth surgery.
That was her fourth surgery.
And this is all before she's even started kindergarten. Because she's 4 years old at this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy.
Now, Peyton, what's the distance between those two?
6 years.
Okay, so it's not like you're pregnant with another kid yet or anything?
No.
Did all this give you pause when you had another kid? Or were you thinking about having another child?
Not really. I wanted another baby so stinking bad. I
But
couldn't
they
stand it.
didn't say this could happen again?
No, it could. Absolutely. I mean, there was no...
But you were like, fuck it. I want
yeah, I
another
mean,
one.
take your chances. I think that was one of those naive moments where I just
Right.
didn't consume myself with it. I didn't think about it.
Okay, so she has a surgery, a couple more weeks, a couple days in recovery.
That one, she was in PICU for, I want to say almost 2 weeks. Grandma Gigi was her
Right.
nurse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Podcast guest number 20.
Yeah,
that was
that's the
Ari's
only
nurse.
reason I went home and slept, because Grandma was there taking care of her.
So, I don't mean to jump too far ahead, but is this the valve she's still currently running on?
No,
Oh. So, yeah, I didn't know that.
no, it's not.
So
How long did that one last
how
then?
long now? Okay, so she's doing checkups. Life's going on. Blah blah
Yep,
blah.
getting big.
She got to go into another doctor's appointment, and they say what?
So we took her to Dr. Day 3 years ago this last summer. And he puts a heart monitor on her, kind of, because now she can kind of explain how she's feeling.
Sure, yeah.
My heart skips a beat every once in a while. I feel weird, whatever it is. They do all the test echocardiograms, the CAT scans, MRIs, whatever they do. And so they do all the tests, and he comes back and he says, okay, there's some calcification. It's getting a little bit narrow. She could probably make it a little bit longer, but why go that route, right? There's this new thing where you put a cow's valve, what's it called? Bovine valve.
Yeah.
Okay. So he sends her home on the heart monitor.
Pull that mic in front of you a little bit, Jenny.
Sorry.
It's all right. There you go.
Like that, okay. He sends her home on the heart monitor. We send it back. The results were okay. But he's like, let's go ahead and get this scheduled. So.
Was you kind of taken aback? Like, God, it was supposed to last
now
longer.
it had been...
Well, it had been. So this was
8
only.
years
yeah,
or so.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, you got the life expectancy out
Yeah,
of it.
we did. And the biggest problem is that it was calcifying.
Okay.
Okay. So still a good valve, but it could be better.
Right.
Levels, oxygen levels were a little lower than they should be, things like that. So they decide to schedule for a surgery. And Dr. Day's like, I'm going to get with my team and we're going to talk about it and we're going to call you. I think like a week or two had gone by and I had heard nothing. So I called the doctor, leave a message. He calls me back. So he thinks, and I hope I'm got this in the right order. He thinks that, because there's this new procedure called the Melody procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where they actually do this replacement of a valve through heart cath.
Wow.
Yeah, weird. So it's non-invasive. She could have the surgery and she can come home.
Right.
Okay.
No more breaking ribs and...
Right. So my cardiologist, who I trust with my life, says there are some risks with this surgery. If it were my child, I would stick to the regular old open heart surgery. However, because of all the scar tissue buildup and all the surgeries, because in between here, she did have 1 or 2 surgeries to remove staples.
Right.
Okay. So she was cut open a few more times. All the scar tissues and with all the scar tissue, it was very risky to crack her chest open. And he gave me some spiel about the risks were greater this time around of her not making it through the surgery.
And she's 13?
13.
13.
Yeah. He says, but that's how I would do it. But I want you to call and talk to Dr. Gray, who is the surgeon for the other
procedure.
new
the other
procedure.
procedure. Which I think at that time, Primary Children's had only seen like 100 of those procedures. Like it was fairly new.
So what did Dr. Gray tell you?
Dr. Gray, of course, said, this is the best. It's not invasive, and she can have the surgery, spend overnight in the hospital, and go home. Where with open heart, she'd be there for 2 to 4 weeks.
Totally tripping on how the hell you
Yeah,
replace
are they
a valve.
like making it inside, or
No,
is it
it's
they're-
expanding.
Oh, yeah, I'll
expanding
explain it. It's interesting.
Oh, I bet you. Yeah, okay. Go.
Yeah, so Dr. Gray calls me and, tries to convince me of that. But he says, however, there are great risks with this. It's a newer procedure, and we have to go through her leg, with as many heart caths as heart patients have, their veins in their legs actually don't work anymore. So that wasn't an option for her because they couldn't get past all the scar tissue.
Wow.
Okay. So Dr. Gray's like, we'll go through her neck. But it's right next to a main artery.
Oh, yeah.
Carotid
if I
artery.
nick
Yeah.
it, she's done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc.
Right. So take some time, talk to your husband, decide what you want to do. So Brody and I think spent the next 3 or 4 days
Okay,
crying.
pause. So,
sorry, new husband.
A new husband. At some point in that process,
Yes.
new husband.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, so maybe you talk to Brody and to
Tom.
your daughter's father.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. So you talk about it.
So we talk about it. I really put all my faith and my trust in my cardiologist. So I was like, well, obviously that's the way we're going to go.
Oh, I thought she was going to say, "In my Lord, the Jesus Christ." Just kidding.
No.
So
I don't know how we finally decided. I think it was just the fact that it was a non-invasive procedure.
So that was you went with
We went with the
new
Melody.
one.
Did you
Okay.
talk to Ari about this at all?
No, Ari had no idea. That was the first time since I had married Brody, since I knew Brody, that I ever saw him cry. Like
Right.
that I saw he had emotion, because it was really I think we both took like 2 or 3 days off work. Like it was a roller coaster.
Yeah, I bet.
I
And
felt
you
like we
didn't-
were choosing how she was going to die.
Right.
Right. And you kept it from her?
Yes, she had no idea
Right.
that either one could be the end of her.
Yeah.
So, so we chose the Melody valve, and I think that was in like July, and in October she had her surgery. And with this, they actually take the cow valve in something that looks like a basketball hoop net almost.
Yeah.
And we have this on CD. You guys should watch it. It's amazing. And they put it inside of her pig valve and then inflate it. So technically she
And
still
they
has
just
a
let
pig
the-
valve.
So
they
the
just
pig
let
valve
the
just-
pig valve rupture essentially.
No, it's placed
It's still in there.
inside the pig valve. It's just opened it a little bit.
Right. So the
Oh.
pig. Yeah.
So she's actually functioning with a cow valve because they did not take out the pig valve.
So she's got both in there.
So she's got both in there.
Oh, she's a regular old McDonald.
Yeah,
Right?
she's got a full farmhouse up
Yeah.
in the house.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
Okay, so what did they tell you about this surgery? If it's obviously it was successful,
Right.
And were you like the most relieved out of all the surgeries?
I
because
was.
this one had the highest risk.
I was. That was I think we had 23 people at the hospital when she had that surgery.
23.
Supporters. Like
Supporters?
family members. Tom
Yeah.
was there, his mom was there. Both Brody's sides of parents
Yeah.
were there. Mom and dad were there. Grandma was there.
I was there. I was just way in the back. You
Yeah.
didn't see me.
We had a
in the back.
lot. Sisters-in-laws. I mean, there was a lot
Right.
of people there.
Okay, so it's a success.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd roars.
Yep.
And then did they give you an idea how long? Or is this one supposed to be like
Forever.
They're saying
Yeah.
like into her 20s. So this is a
Well, what comes after the bovine?
So wait,
just another one, unless they come up with the new
bigger
something.
one.
Just a
yeah,
bigger
just
one.
a bigger one.
but what's the chance of her needing a bigger one because she's probably
So
not getting much
small.
bigger than she already is.
Right, but these valves wear down over time.
So it's not just a size thing; it's an endurance.
Right. So, and this Ari is not, and it's because of how her heart, everything's backwards or flipped or whatever. She is not a candidate for a heart transplant. So if her heart ever goes,
That's it.
that's it.
So I mean, what kind of risk is she at? Is there certain things she can and can't do?
She cannot do competitive sports without prior, like she has a note for PE that if she doesn't want to run a mile, she doesn't have to run a
She
mile.
got a built-in
Wait.
excuse.
Right?
She's going to Hawaii in a couple of days or
She
some
is.
shit.
She can fly now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Wait, so
she just got
couldn't
back from
fly.
California.
Okay.
She couldn't fly because of the altitude change.
Right.
But now,
That's what I figured.
with all the fixes, she's fine.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
She lives pretty much a healthy, normal life. She's
But
small.
but she's not at like risk for anything. Like nothing's gonna just give out.
No, she could die of heart failure. It's very possible.
And
Her
she's
heart could just
well
be like,
aware.
I'm tired. Yep.
She's well aware of this.
Yep. Babies are unknown, Can she have babies? Yes. Do they know what it'll do to her fragile little frame?
Right.
And her heart if she were to actually give birth?
Yeah, really. Yeah, that it would be
Are
scary.
these conversations you've had with her now
They
that
are.
she's 16?
That's good birth control.
Yeah. You might
So
die.
she's afraid you're gonna die if you have
might
sex
die if you have
and get
babies.
pregnant.
Perfect birth control.
Jeez. So what?
Fear always works.
Right?
So a lot of times, I heard this once on a podcast years ago, and it actually made me think of Ari, which is that a lot of times that children that go through a lot of different surgeries or medical procedures, especially when they're really young, can struggle with things in life. They just have, not that they have like a learning disability or anything like that, but there's something about that trauma that affects them, like it would anybody.
Right.
Has there been any of that, whether it's developmental issues or it's like, it's the idea that maybe she's, less averse to listening to what you have to say because she's been through this, because it's apples and oranges, but with Mikkel and all her cancer stuff, which she was old enough to remember it all, it made her kind of a hard ass,
Right.
where she didn't really, she gets in those modes where she doesn't listen to shit from nobody.
Oh, yeah.
So
Ari's she's got academically, developmentally, yes, because she, we had to do occupational therapy to get her even to roll over, walk, crawl.
Sure.
She has a IEP because academically, she just isn't there. She's better now, but when she first started school,
Yeah.
she struggled bad. And that's a
Well, running that low on
attribute of
oxygen
it.
for so long, I
Right?
have no doubt.
Right?
And
she's got, it's actually really sad. She waited to get her license so long because she was afraid she couldn't do it. She's too small. I can't fit in that car. I'm not going to be able to reach the pedal. I can't see over the hood. She stands 4
You
feet.
think it's affected her confidence?
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine.
She went to California at the end of August. It's called Camp del Corazon, something like that. And it is a camp made on Catalina Island, especially for heart patients. So she got to go
Wow.
and have this week trip with everyone who had a scar just like hers. The surgeons, they have on-site surgeons and medical team. They all the camp directors, counselors, they all had a zipper. So she came home and was actually really emotional and sad for about a week. She wanted to go back because I still remember she says, it was so nice to be able to put a bathing suit on and not have someone go, oh, what happened to you?
Well, yeah, just having people who can actually relate to
Yes.
you on any level now.
No one asked a question. No one asked
Yeah.
why she was so small or said, oh, you're tiny or...
Right. Which I imagine she
those
still
things
gets
didn't-
in school.
Oh yeah,
Constantly.
Oh yeah, she gets made fun of all the time.
Yeah. So how much of that, I mean, one, have you worried about, and has it been a struggle?
I really don't worry about it. And Ari, in the last, I would say 6 months to a year, has really done some growing up mentally. She still struggles with it, but I think she embraces it a little bit more now.
Right.
You know, and that camp, I firmly believe, helped.
How'd she get
It's
the
okay to be
opportunity to
different.
do that?
It's just a camp that they put on, and one of our friends, they live there, and their kid has heart problems, so they've known about it. And you have to get a cardiologist to sign off on it. And my cardiologist, he said, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "Years, dude. You could have told me years ago."
Right.
I just found out about it.
Right.
Yeah, and
'Cause-
it's free. It's all.
It's all paid for.
It's all the contributions, donations.
She flew out by herself?
She flew out by herself. Her first airplane ticket or plane ride by herself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So something she wasn't able to do before because of her condition.
Right.
She gets to go to a camp about her condition,
Right.
and she gets to fly
Yep.
there for the first time.
That's pretty cool.
Freaking Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah.
So
I mean, it must be, I guess I've never really thought about it before too much, but that's just because, you know, it's like any niece or nephew or whatever, you only see them at family things, you don't live with them day to
Right.
day, but I've never really thought about, like, you know, the contrast and difficulty of kind of helping her through those kinds of things. Plus, you know, you throw in the mix a divorce, probably doesn't help things.
Right.
You know, the shift in families and stuff
shift
like
in
that.
family. She doesn't have a great relationship with her dad.
Right.
You know.
So, I mean, that has had to have been tough for you guys.
Yeah.
I just never really thought about it before, but you know,
It's, as a mom, makes me very emotional even now when she comes home crying because she's too small or she can't do this and she wants to do this but she can't do this. Like there's so many things she wanted to be, you know, a firefighter. Well, she can't do that because she has heart problems, you know. It's sad. It makes me sad. I'll go in my room and cry because the poor kid's just trying.
Yeah.
And, you know, she feels like she gets knocked in the face a lot.
and so Ari has 2 other siblings that aren't step siblings.
Right.
And there were no problems with her younger sister or her younger brother.
There were no problems with Peyton. So each pregnancy after that, they do the in utero ultrasound just to make sure.
Right.
They told me,
Yeah.
not that the
it
first one
mattered
said
the first
anything.
time.
Yeah.
So Peyton was fine. Both pregnancies after Ari were very high risk for me. So Bridger, I got pregnant with Bridger. Bridger was an oops. Peyton was IVF. Bridger was just like, oh, here I am. And we did an ultrasound on him. And when I got done with that, they're like, hey, just wait in this room for the doctor. And then a social worker came in and said, okay, we're just waiting for the doctor and the other people.
Wait, when was this? After
This
he's
is-
born?
No, this is before he's born.
Or
I
before
was
he was born. Oh.
5 or 6 months pregnant, probably.
Okay.
At the time. And pretty soon I've got 3 doctors. I've got a social worker. I've got a crisis worker. I've got, right? So you know something's wrong.
Right. Were you just like, just tell me?
They were waiting for the doctor. Tom and I were already on the outs at that point, but he was there. He had come to the appointment. And as soon as those doctors walked in, he bailed. And he left me there by myself to hear the news.
He bailed
He left.
because he couldn't take it?
Yeah, he just didn't want to listen to it.
Okay. Well,
So,
we can get back to that in a
that
minute.
aside, right?
So what did they tell you?
There were 20, I think 24 or 27 little tiny holes they saw in his heart. There were a lot of holes. There were 3 or 4 that they were very concerned about. You know, this could be on the same track of what Ari has. We just got to sit and play it by ear. And sent me on my way. He's fine. He was born, by the time he was born, all of the holes closed.
But were you freaking out?
Oh yeah, I was panicked. I was like, not again. Like I couldn't Like, I was not a human made.
Well,
to
it
have
had to be
babies.
something, I'm assuming, and I never knew that and put the correlation together. For his age, Bridger's pretty freaking small too, right?
Yeah.
All my kids
So-
are pretty tiny. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know
But because Bridger don't seem to grow
that. No.
at all.
He grows. I think he grew like a whole inch and a half this
Really?
last month.
Wow.
Yeah, the kid grows. He eats
Okay.
more than Brody eats.
I doubt that.
I doubt that. Yeah.
He does.
But there's no
There's
problem
nothing. No. You know,
Huh.
they want to put him in the gifted program. He's a genius, apparently.
there. Yeah, we heard all
you know.
about that last weekend at the barbecue. So,
Well, I got a question.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just remember, I don't remember a lot of details because I was younger, but I always called her the $1 million baby. How close to that am I?
As far as what it cost,
You're very close. The first bill I ever got, I think not the first bill I ever got. I want to say the one from Lucille Packard's. I don't remember where it was from. One of the bills I got was $800 and something thousand.
Holy bejesus. Well, yeah. After all the surgeries.
That was just one
Wow.
surgery.
so let me ask you this then. How did you have to like go through a bunch of bullshit with insurance companies and all this stuff?
At first we did not, because Tom was working for his dad, and their company actually provided all medical. I mean, they paid our premiums, everything.
What?
From her first surgery, I never saw a bill ever, never. Yeah,
I need that insurance. Where
that
did I
bill
get that
came
from?
later. This last surgery, I don't even remember.
Wow.
I don't remember. I think I was single. I don't think I was married yet, so I had Medicaid. So I
Yeah.
think that was covered.
I was just kind of wonder the kind of hoops people got to jump through.
Oh,
when
it's-
it
It's
comes to
ugly.
insurance and
It's
stuff.
Bullshit is
ugly,
what
and
it is.
that's going to be an uphill struggle for Ari, because we can cover her legally till she's 26, and trying to get her to understand, you have to find a job or a career that will always provide you health insurance, because
Right.
she's uninsurable. If I were to go off of a company insurance, a corporate insurance, and try to get my own, I can't insure her,
Right.
Jeez.
Which is dumb.
which is
Yeah,
dumb,
it
and
is
she needs
totally
it.
dumb.
Which is dumb.
Yep.
It's like, oh, we have to do these surgeries. You don't have insurance, so she's uninsurable. You can't let her die,
Right.
but you can't pay for the surgery.
Right.
So
but
it's like,
hey, if she does die, here's the hospital bill for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's all this.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff. So,
Yep.
so yeah, that's a pretty interesting story. So, when you and Tom split, had Bridger been born yet?
We split.
Right after he was born?
We got divorced after he was born,
Oh, you did.
but
Do you
we
remember
were
how
on the
long?
outs for. I mean, I can't believe I got pregnant. We'll just put it that way. It'd been a while.
You sure it's Tom? Just kidding.
Lexi thinks it's Brody's, so
Other than him looking exactly like him.
Yeah. Oh no, he looks just like Tom. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Did Tom have his psychotic break before or after Bridger was born?
before
So he had a legitimate psychotic break,
his first one.
and it was before he was born. That was the Jesus is
I
walking
think
the
I was
halls.
pregnant with them. Yes. Paint was
And
one.
do you think any of the? Do they think? I know that there's genetics there and hereditary and whatnot, but could any of the stuff that he went through with Ari and that stress that you guys went through have attributed to a break at some point? Do you think? Just so do you think? Because I doubt anyone would say yes.
Yes, I think it could, but the time frame does not line up. That was a
long time after.
drug-induced psychotic.
Right. It was triggered by the use of some extracurricular
Right.
substances,
Right.
which is very common
Right.
for people. So this podcast is shorter than most. So the story about Ari is amazing, but maybe you should tell us about your husband's psychotic
That's
break.
why you really called me in here, isn't it?
Well, because I was in some way a part of it, because he had me convinced of some of his delusions.
He did?
Oh yeah, man.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, me and Bill.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, so
He was convincing, huh?
Oh man.
Like-
Well, that's like anybody.
Like
So first
the
of all, real
birds
quick,
Yeah,
what was he
sorry.
diagnosed with?
He was diagnosed with
It's like bipolar schizophrenia.
it was stress-induced psychosis, which is a form of schizophrenia that is actually comes on later in life, and it's like the tendencies of the bipolar was there,
Right.
but the extracurricular activities threw him over,
Right.
and he just had a
Total psychotic break, and a very typical psychotic break. Government's after me. Jesus is coming.
Jesus has come.
People are on things. So when he was admitted to the hospital, when the cops came, right? That was his first break.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So because that was
yeah, I
before
remember
that
that like it was
happened. You
yesterday.
probably don't know any of this stuff, but Bill and I were doing a lot of the paranormal stuff,
Right.
And we were building a device to record.
I remember that.
Right, and I had some questions for Tom, being going to school as an electrical engineer, and we had showed him the device, and he took some interest in it.
Right.
And he said, "There's some other things this device could do," and he kind of hinted what they can do, but we always kind of took Tom as a pretty smart guy,
Right.
And so we kind of just trusted him, and he never really explained what it could do, but he wanted to sit down and have us meet his dad. Right?
I remember that.
Which in retrospect, we went, this was all part of this delusion, because quickly thereafter, and I'm just giving you the abridged version, we're talking about this. We actually formed an LLC and stuff like that. And we were gonna start a company and build this device. And he's like, it has medical applications. It has seismic applications. And a lot of it on certain levels, we were like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. And then like, because it was, for us, it was tied to the study of electronic voice phenomenon and things like that, he started to say, someone's been hacking into my computer. I traced the IPs back, or I had a friend trace the IPs back to Langley, Virginia, which is where the CIA is headquartered, right? You guys were down in Vegas for some reason, and he had told us, or you had told us, or something, that a call came in when you were in Vegas, and it was from Nellis Air Force Base.
We were in California.
Or that's what he had told you or whatever. Anyway, and then one day we're sitting at Mom and Dad's house, and you're out in the kitchen with Mom or something, and he's in there, it's me, Dad, and him, and he's drawing me this design for nuclear fission based on this little box Bill and I created. And at this point, I'm like, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Like, this is crazy. I remember Dad was like,
looking back.
so this is all pre the break that happened at your house.
I hear this a lot from people. Oh yeah, he did this and this and looking back, if you people would have opened your mouth and told me this, you could have saved me a lot of trouble.
Well, at the time, it was just like,
Well, it's
Tom
unreal.
Tom had a certain personality about him that was very Mr. Know-It-All.
Right.
So you kind of got used to that, and we're
Right.
just kind of like, yeah,
Okay.
So,
But he was in those moments, he's so convincing. Like when he
All
told
the
me
crazy ones are.
when he told me there was there's a camera in the light post in Carol's yard across the street from our house. I remember me and Sarah one day, he went to work and me and Sarah were out there like putting our finger in this light post, right? Because he was so convincing
yeah.
that you're like, what the hell's going on? Like something's up. Like
Yeah.
it was so, because they so firmly believe this is happening.
Right.
They don't think it's
Yeah.
bullshit. So they're that convincing.
See, there's something I never heard. So tell us what happened the night you had to call the cops.
So the
'Cause
night
it's
I
a
had to
great
call the
story.
cops, we had some friends over, Brooke and James, and I wanted to get a bed for Peyton. She was still in her crib. She was just turning 1. I wanted a particular bed at IKEA. Go get it. So I sent him and James after this bed. Brooke and I were chatting. They come back from the store, and Tom's not with James. I'm like, where is he? And he's just giving me this look. And he's just Right, shaking his head. No.
What?
I'm
Like,
like,
don't
what's
ask
going
where it's at.
on? I'm not talking about it right now. Like, literally.
Whoa.
Okay. So, come to find out, they were in IKEA, and he turned to some guy, stranger, and asked him, "Why the fuck are you following me? Who sent you?" And James is like, "What the hell is going
What the hell
on?"
is happening there?
So they come home. We say our goodnights. At the moment, James still has not told me this. I have no idea what's happening.
You don't know where Tom's at?
Well, he was outside.
Oh.
Okay. I get ready for bed. Tom's like, I'm going to go. I don't even know where he was going. 3 hours later, he's still not home. So I'm like, what the hell? And everything in me was telling me to pack a bag. Everything. So I packed Peyton's, diaper bag. And I packed an outfit for Ari.
And you're pregnant.
And I was pregnant. And I think I was I was pregnant. I was like 4 months. Anyway. And Ari was in my bed and Peyton was in her crib. I had my keys on my diaper bag right by my garage door. Right? I hear, like an hour later, someone talking to themselves. And I was like, what is that noise? So I got to the kitchen. Tom's home. I'm like, where have you been? And he starts turning off all the lights and unplugging the TV and anything that was plugged in. And he's telling me that we have made it. That the second coming has been here and we...
What the fuck is going through your mind during all of this?
You made it! Yes! Yes, you guys...
And
you
that-
weren't lifting off the ground yet.
Right? In that moment, I didn't know what to think. I had an iPhone. I had it in my hand and I pushed send and it went straight to Brooke. So she was on the other line. And I've just got it down here. He can't see it.
Right.
And I'm having a conversation with him. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, don't piss him off because I don't know what he's going to do.
Okay, what else kind of stuff is he saying?
So he's telling me that so we've made it. We don't need the electricity, the power. God's going to light the way. Everything's going to be perfect and fine.
I heard that
If someone comes in, he's going to shoot them. He said what?
I heard that he had said that God was walking
Down the hallway
in
or
the
something.
halls of the home.
I don't think he said that.
Someone said he said that because we both just heard the same thing. So, and haven't
Maybe.
ever discussed this
It
before.
might have been the telephone game. I remember that day pretty clearly.
So he said if anyone comes in, that's going to shoot him.
If someone comes in,
and he had a gun.
unannounced-
He had a sidearm.
We had two or three weapons at the time.
Right.
He's,
Like, is he
Then
carrying the gun around at this point?
not at this point. Then he asked me to kneel with him and say a prayer. Well, you got to remember at this point, Tom and I don't like each other at all.
Right,
Like this is really like he's in and he's out and he's the father of my kids and I don't know what to do. Okay. But we don't like each other. So he asked me to pray with him and then he asked me to get in the shower with him. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get a drink first. He got in the shower.
Wait, he's like, get in the shower with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a glass of water first. And he's like, okay. So he gets in the shower. Ari sits straight up out of bed. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning and goes, what's wrong with Dad?
Oh, man.
And I said, go get your sister out of her crib. Do not ask questions. Go get in the car. So
What are you thinking at this point?
Is
That
your
there's-
friend still on the line here and all
yes,
this, by the way?
yes.
Okay.
And I'm like shaking, right? And by this point, he's in the shower. So I'm talking on the phone with Brooke. And she's like, go to my mom's. She lived around the corner. Go to my mom's. James and I will meet you there. Go to my mom's. And I'm like, right? So I get Tom's in the shower. Ari gets Peyton in the car. They're in the front seat, just lapped. I grab the bag. I'm out the door and out of there. Like I am
What
out
did
of
you
there.
think?
I don't know. I thought he had lost his marbles. I didn't know if he was going to hurt me. I didn't know what was happening. So I went to James's parents' house. They did not know I was coming. Brooke was not there yet. So I am outside. I walk inside and we're pretty close. So I'm like knocking on their door, right? On their bedroom door. I'm like, Bonnie. I tell her what happens. Her dad was a bishop at the time. And so, this is what they do. They go to the praying thing. So he said a prayer.
Meanwhile, Tom's in the shower.
Right? So
Right.
James decides he's going to sit. He got Lee, one of our other really good friends that they all grew up together, who lived in the neighborhood. And they parked across the street in one of our neighbors' driveway and just kind of observed and see if something else was going to go on.
Right.
Brooke came. We called the police. We told them the report of what he said. So, of course, they know he has weapons.
I think he's armed.
I don't know who takes the garbage can out at 2:30 or the garbage out at 2:30 in the morning, but he went to take the garbage out at 2:30 in the morning and opened the garage door right when the police department was getting there
dude.
and scared the shit out of him. So they came guns blazing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And I'm at Brooke's mom's house and you can see all the police just
yeah.
driving down the street.
Oh my gosh.
I'm freaking out. James is on the phone giving us a play-by-play.
Why is Daddy crazy, Mom? So what? They come in, guns drawn. Then
They come in.
They draw down on him.
They arrest him.
Is he
Arrest
freak-
him.
is
They
he-
detain him.
Is he freaking out?
I'm not sure. The officer called me on the phone and said we're taking him to American Fork Hospital. So Brooke took me over there. He was getting out of the cop car while I was getting out of Brooke's car, and he looked at me and told me to go the fuck away, and he hates me and he never wants to talk to me again. Whatever. So they pink slip him up to the mental ward
Yeah.
at LD.
And he wouldn't speak to you.
No. Where he was for
3 days.
3 or 4 days.
I remember that very specifically because he wouldn't have nothing to do with you.
No. And except for when he told me that while he was there, he contacted the GM of the Ford, the bigwig of Ford. And they were coming up with a car together.
See?
What?
And he drew the emblem, some fancy.
Yeah.
Oh,
That-
they're designing a car together.
Yeah, that car was that fusion thing was
Yes.
for the car.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
A car you never had to power, never had to fill up, never.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is weeks before. See, because he was probably triggered by when that spice shit was going around, right?
So when they took him, I went home and raided his car, and I opened the trunk and saw a case of that spice shit. I mean,
which you could buy. You could go to a
You
smoke
could buy,
shop
yeah.
and
He
buy.
bought it at a smoke shop. I opened his glove box and found 3 or 4 speeding tickets that were unaddressed.
Did you know that he had been smoking this at all?
No,
Because
not at
that's
that
totally
point.
was out of his personality
Yeah.
at the time. See,
Wow.
he show up at mom and dad's once with 2 big ass boxes filled with junk from MPS.
He did?
Yeah. I just barely threw them boxes away when I moved. But they had things like rolls of like calculator paper, that kind of calculator paper, old routers, a pedal for a dictation machine. I mean, a bunch of stuff.
Because part of that disease is the grandiose.
I know. He thought I could use it for stuff.
Right.
And my dumb ass, because I like to tinker and take things apart, I'm like, yeah, take all this stuff. I could probably use this or that and do this, take this apart and stuff like that. But here's what's interesting, and I always had a question for you because I happened to be down there at the time that you were moving. Why the fuck did you go move to Vegas with him?
It wasn't for me.
So he got
I
medicated.
did not
want
want to do it. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I did it for my kids.
Because he was still working for his dad at the time.
No, he found a new job. And I did it for my kids. I mean, it lasted what? A month or 2?
I don't know, but he went nuts down there and started
did.
taking shit apart.
He did.
And you were being listened to again. Did he go off his medication?
I don't think he'd been on his medication for years, actually, at that point. 2 years.
So this is how long? How long was that before you went to
Our
Vegas?
Peyton was 1 the first time it happened, and we were divorced. I didn't go to Vegas till Bridger was 1, maybe,
Wow.
just over 1.
Okay.
And then I was there for 2 or
Yeah.
3 months and came home.
So
Yeah,
you were
'cause-
divorced and separated for a year or so?
So
little bit more.
where was he when Dad was down there helping you move?
Where was Tom?
No, yeah. Where was Tom at?
Here in Utah. Because he snapped And
He lost his job, right?
yeah, and he snapped people who were watching him. He tore his car apart.
Yeah.
The CIA
Tore the
is out.
stereo
Right,
out.
right.
Yeah.
So I come up here. He thinks I took his cell phone or something. And he calls me. I don't know where he called me from. Oh, his mom's house. He drove all the way up here without his stupid cell phone.
No way.
And so, right? I go back and pack up his apartment, and I see a note on the counter on a yellow piece of paper that says, please ship my phone to this address, whoever took it. I know you're coming back.
Oh, boy.
So I go in the room, and his phone's on the bed
Oh my gosh.
under a blanket.
How? Oh my gosh. So,
But to him, someone took his
No,
phone.
right, of course.
Yeah.
so how is he now? Does he doesn't take.
I've seen about 3 months ago, I saw a glimpse of it where he was calling me over text all kinds of names, and that part of him was coming out. Like, I started shaking, and he had my kids at the time, and I told Brody, get in that car and go get my, like, I was terrified, but he calmed down really quickly. Mentally, I don't think he'll ever be the same person.
I tell you what, I mean, Tom was around forever, and I golfed with him numerous times and stuff like that. And, I mean, short of being kind of a know-it-all, was a pretty normal guy.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw him was at that party you had at the park because of Ari's.
Doesn't look the same, doesn't
No,
act
everything
the same.
about him was different. His demeanor was different. Like,
That's why I
I
try to tell
fully
people they don't
expected
get
him.
it.
I was fully expecting him to come up and be Tom and be all chatty and stuff
No.
like that. But he didn't say a word
No.
to me.
Medication changes people.
And I don't
psychotic
and I
breaks.
don't know that he's even medicated now. We obviously don't chat about that.
Isn't his mom bipolar?
His mom and his brother.
So,
both
yeah, I remember his brother had some serious issues, right? And that was that drug related to? I mean, not drug induced too.
No, that was not.
Oh.
That was not drug induced. That's just the.
Does
mental.
he still live out there with his mom?
He had to move out when he pulled a knife on Ari, and the cops were called, and we had to get a restraining order.
Wait, Tom pulled a knife out on Ari?
Rusted.
Oh, rusted.
Oh, rusted.
Yeah.
Why?
His brother, because his brother's crazy too. It's crazy.
He's from what I understand, he's actually really well right now. He's doing better than he's
great.
ever done.
He's great. If you're listening to this podcast, you're a good guy. You're
Russ is a good guy. He just has some, but yeah, it was.
I got a
he'll
lot
never
of
be the
anxiety
same.
listening to this story.
Why?
I don't know, because it's what?
It's-
Dude,
it's
what's so
crazy
funny
because-
is I'm backing up here. He had me and Bill sold, dude.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, what? The CIA?
Yeah.
What? Nellis Air Force Base? What?
Yes.
We're on to something. We're on to something with this OVR box we've created, man. Like, for a short little bit, we were like, we're meeting his dad. He's going to invest some money. But it was all part of the pre-delusion.
Yes, it's like we finished our basement. He came home one day and quit his 6-figure-a-year job.
Right? I
His
remember
partnership without
Yeah.
discussing anything with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's jobless. We towed off to Disneyland. Like, we have all the money in the world now. Well, Dad's at our house finishing our basement. Okay. So all this money going out
Yeah.
and none coming in. But when we were in California, is the first time I saw it. Because we were at the hotel.
Did you recognize it when you saw it, or was this just in hindsight?
Just in hindsight.
Oh,
Something weird was
yeah.
going on. And the whole way home, he's like, that car's following us. Watch, I'm going to turn off here and get gas. And the car would keep going straight.
No, another one behind.
Yeah,
No, not
yeah.
that
The next one
The
behind us.
whole way home.
wow.
I was terrified.
I've been like, what are you talking about?
But
Did you
again,
ask him, or
no,
did you just stay
because
quiet?
he's so
and-
convincing that you're like looking around like, who the hell's following us?
That's a problem when someone who's really smart
Yeah.
starts to lose it. Because you know them to be really smart, you
Yeah.
just inherently kind of trust what they're saying
Right.
or think that there might be something to it. I mean, it's crazy. I've since seen like episodes of Dr. Phil with people that have torn their couches apart, and the family's like, and they think they're being listened to, and
Right.
there's tracking devices in their car. It's a weird thing that's a common phenomenon. End of days shit, Jesus' return, government oversight
Yeah.
and spying. It's
Yeah.
these weird
Right.
things that they're very common with schizophrenics.
Right. Yep.
And why a lot of people like Tom in that condition end up homeless
Yes.
and on the streets
Yep.
is because they don't have a support system, or that support system can't deal with it anymore.
Well,
Or they quit their 6-figure job for no reason.
right. And I
Yeah.
don't think, and he'll never admit that he has this problem to this day. He's had probably 10 jobs in the last 2 or 3 years, and he gets let go from every single one of them, but it's their fault
Of course.
because he can't figure out why.
Yeah.
He called me up a month ago, 2 months ago. I can't pay you child support. I had to quit my job. I'm too busy.
Doing what?
Yeah, too busy.
Too busy. I think he manages like his mom's property or whatever he does. I don't know. Tom and I do not speak unless it's about the children. There's a
Isn't
lot of
that
underlying
weird?
issues, but I can't hold a conversation. It infuriates me. I can't do it.
Right.
Ari doesn't have a relationship with him, but Ari also remembers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
some of the stuff.
she had a
How is Bridger?
wig out
with him?
attack the other day.
People are probably listening right now going, is it really fair you're talking about this guy and he's not here? So
It's fair.
Jen says it's fair. Jen says it's fair.
Listen to all those listening. I really hope that Tom is doing well and that he has a good life. I do. I don't wish anything
Look how
ill.
uncomfortable Eric looks.
Right?
Look how.
I don't,
Like, sorry, that's my bullshit meter. Hold on.
no. Seriously. I don't hound the dude for child support. I don't get paid. I don't care. He doesn't pay medical. He doesn't pay premiums. I don't care.
Right.
I just
Like, isn't that
it's not worth
weird
it to me.
think back and go, but this is a man at one point you supposedly loved enough to marry and have 3 children with, that now your relationship is so far
I was going to say the same thing, but
But
Yeah.
this I think this is another podcast
Okay.
because that should have never happened. I remember the day I got married, laying
I remember.
on Nate's lap on the way,
yeah.
crying, sick to my stomach because I didn't want to do it because I knew everything that could have went wrong that day went wrong
Frickin'
that
Nate.
day.
I hear that a lot,
But
actually.
it's a Mormon thing. I'm telling you guys. You need to get married. You need to do it.
You got married quick, dude.
I was over a year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, how
Seemed
old were
really
you, though?
quick.
I was young. 21?
Nah,
20, 21.
still-
But for Mormons,
too
21
young.
is
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't. I
Weird.
remember your wedding.
Tom and I should have been divorced literally when we were married 5 years. That's when it started going south.
Well, I think you faked it pretty good.
You know,
I do too, faker.
I had a nice life.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
There
No.
it is.
She stayed for the money.
No.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, they all do.
Come on, they all do.
Hey, I have love now, money then. I would never go back to what I had for what I have.
We'll see.
Never.
He's not in
Now
the
that
room
now
anymore.
that Brody left the room. All right, cool. Well, excuse me. I think we can end it there.
Awesome story.
Yeah, thanks
I learned
for-
a lot.
I learned a bunch of stuff I didn't know, which is the whole point of this podcast. It just proves that, I mean, even family. I remember Ari going to surgery. I remember when you were in Arizona. I remember the guy I was doing work for, who I think was in the area, a guy I'd never met. His name was Franz. I was doing a website for him, and I told him what was going on, and I think he sent some flowers to you at the hospital or something
maybe.
like that. Just some random act of kindness this
Yeah.
guy did. But I remember all this stuff.
Right.
You know, I remember the surgeries and the thing. I remember going to the hospital at Primary Children's on the third surgery. But
You don't get all these.
you don't get all the details.
that
It
fill
just
in
shows
the
how
gaps.
wrapped up we get in our own lives.
Yeah.
Well, you do.
Because mom being gone a month in California, I don't know.
I don't.
I was busy doing my own stuff. You would
And
know
I don't
now,
know if she was gone a month, but yeah, she
but
was
long enough
yeah.
where you'd probably take notice.
Right.
Because Dad was up here like
Dancing and
shooting off his 6 shooters, putting his spurs on. Just kidding. Just kidding, Alice. Just kidding.
Yes.
Mom dreaded this podcast because she was worried it was going to be a mom bashing podcast.
It's never gonna. You guys should give a shout
Now
out
we-
to your mom and how great she is.
She's a great lady.
She is. She has saved your ass. She has saved your ass, and she has saved mine on multiple occasions.
Well, she's definitely saved your ass the most. That's why she's going to live with you after Dad dies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because she's
Done.
Yep.
End of
Short-
podcast.
I did
And
not.
we're out.
Thank you. Good night.
I think she should go live with the favorite.
You're the favorite.
I don't
You're
really
the
care because
favorite.
either way, it's not me.
Maybe she
right.
should live with the neglected to make it for less time.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I told her today she didn't have enough years left in her life to do that.
We better quit while we're ahead.
All right.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom. Jenny, thanks for coming in and doing the podcast with us.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And any final words? We always ask our guests if they have any final words.
Any final words?
Yeah.
Take your medication.
Take your medication. There you go.
Eat the donut.
Have the donut.
Have the
a throwback
donut.
to Andy's podcast.
Throwback to Andy.
Have the donut and take your medication.
That's right. Take your medication.
Don't smoke spice.
Don't smoke spice.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.